Hi everybody, today I want to show you how to restore a Technics SP10 Mark II chassis, which is typically in this condition. But what I want to do is provide you with information that you yourself can do at home, providing that you're quite handy and you've got the correct tools to do so. This particular model was used in a broadcast station and used to have the surround around the start stop button, so we've got that to deal with as well. Most of you will just have a clean example that requires minimum effort. The Technics chassis is not entirely aluminium, it's actually cast from a material called Zamac. So if you want to know all about Zamac, just Google Zamac and it will tell you all about it. The original chassis finish is not as good as what you might think. The brush finish was quite harsh and quite imperfect in places, and in some models they was actually rounded off on the corners. They were rushed out, not particularly well done, and certainly don't have the finish of the new SP10R, which is a much finer brush finish. This is quite harsh, so to get the finish off, we want to get rid of the original brush finish completely, and we want to get down to a smooth aluminium finish. After we're done, the finish on this chassis will be more like the new SP10R rather than the original coarse brush finish, which it will not be like that anymore. Now, as I say, I want to do this with tools that you would probably have at home. If not, they would be relatively easy to manufacture if you're quite handy with a saw and a drill, basically. So without further ado, let's start the process. First thing we're going to do is orbital sand all the top and the sides. Now, regarding quality of sandpaper, there is a lot to be said for sandpaper quality. Now, we have a 320 grit paper here by Mk2, and we have a 320 grit sanding disc by Rhino Stick, which is, I've used these for years and they're absolutely fantastic quality. So the difference between the two is the Rhino Stick gives a far better, smoother finish than the Mk2. Even though they're the same grit, they work in completely different ways. So it's important to get the correct type of paper. Also, the Rhino Stick does not block easily and will last quite a considerable amount of time. It's quite a tough paper. Same again on the orbital sander. We have again a Rhino Stick disc. This one's actually been used, but despite that, we're still going to see how it performs on this chassis plate. Over the years of doing these, I have discovered that the Japanese were very good at hiding pit holes. There's quite a lot of pit holes in these chassis, tiny little pinprick holes, and they simply filled them with lacquer, and they became almost completely invisible. But after you've removed the lacquer, some of them may be visible, so bear that in mind. So without further ado, let's get on with sanding our chassis top. You will notice that there's very faint brush lines. We need to sand straight through those until they disappear. It's important to get all of the little lines, the old brush lines out if you want to get and achieve a perfect new brush finish. It's important to get down to the virgin material with all the imperfections eliminated. On this one, I do see several pit marks. There's quite a few there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You get the idea. There's quite a few tiny pinprick bubbles inside the mold. So, like I say, but hopefully at the end the lacquer will fill all those and you'll have a top as good as new. So to rebrush finish the chassis, I have built a sliding bed machine which is okay for the top, but it cannot do the sides. So the sides have to be done by hand. And the way I like to do this is with a rhino stick, Indaza disc on a block of wood and a little bit of elbow grease. Now, even though I've been doing this about 15 years, it's quite easy for me to do this. You might struggle a little bit yourself to get it nice and straight, but it's the same old thing. Practice makes perfect. But at the end of the day, it's going to look better than what it did. Now, to get to the ends on these old chassis, they're quite rounded off. So as you come off, you need to be tipping your sanding block a little bit. Just tip it off like that. Just come off the edges slightly. And you'll have a nice clean brush finish, just like the original. As I say, these castings are not perfect because there's multiple levels to each side. Very subtle, but it's there, and you just have to keep going around. And the bits that get missed, try and figure out which level they're at, and just continue to work on it. Now here's an example of a side I've just done. You can see here, everything else is fine, but there's a spot here which is actually sunk a little bit. So you have to just keep sanding and sanding until you've come to the same level on the bit that's sunk. Now when you're brushing the sides, you have to take extra care not to start like in the middle. You start at the edge, and with one sweep you're off the edge like that. This is to do your final brush finish, because it's important not to get any what I call stippling from the sanding paper in the brush finish, because it's amazing how quickly you can mess it up. So it's important to keep the paper straight while you're doing the brush finish, but when you come to thinking, oh, that looks good, you know, or there might be a little bit of an imperfection, you just want to come on and off, on and off. That way you've got no break in the brush finish, and you've got no what I call, like I say, stippling. Now I've been brush finishing this side, and as you can see, there's quite a I've gone on the flat surface. This is dead flat, and it's brought out all the little imperfections in the casting, which is normally not seen because it's very minor. But you can definitely improve the original finish to get past those points back down to the virgin metal. So we'll finish the 4 sides and then I'll show you the next stage. So I've just started brush finishing this side, and you can see the amount of imperfections from where it's level. There's all these areas here that are lower than the areas that you can see that's been brushed. So you can see what we're up against. The idea is to flatten all those off until we get all nice brush finish. It's hard work, it takes a long time. It's just took me 3 hours to do those 2 sides, so be prepared to put some time and effort in. What it also pays you to do is just go on the very leading edges and just give them a nice straight edge. This eliminates any old lacquer that's on there, and just gives it a nice clean edge on all the edges. You'll see on the very bottom edge there's actually a very subtle flat, so you need to flatten that first just to get any old lacquer off. And again, it gives it a nice flat edge for visual appeal. Flatten off the edge on the very leading top edge, and you're ready to do the actual side itself. This one here, you can just see a casting mark in there. You can actually feel it with your finger when you slip your finger over it. It's actually higher here than what it is there. So things like that, you just need to level out to one smooth, flat, level surface. Now with the last few strokes, you can see the brush finish is nearly done, but there's still one more stage. After the sides have been done, there's one more stage, and I like to use Scotch Brite. Now there's 2 ways of doing this. Either just have it on the desk like that, because it's stiff enough to hold onto the tabletop, and just brush it along. Again, you're coming on, off, don't stop halfway. Now you could have a table of this already made up, so you've got a longer run, but at the minute I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes and the fact that this way you can do at home. That smooths out the brush finish and gives it that softer look. If there's any bits that stick out, you can just go over it by hand if you wish. You can actually feel the contours better with your hands, but again, you've got to stay on the piece. Don't stop halfway, go one side to the next. And then when you finish, you come off the piece. There you go. You can see about 10 or 15 little tiny pinprick holes in the casting there. Hopefully they'll be covered up with the lacquer. So all your sides are done and dusted. But what you're going to do while you're doing the top, you can't just leave them like that. So you must protect them with some masking tape. It's just an essential thing to do, and it helps protect them from oils in your fingers and any slight knocks that you might endure along the way. So we'll tape that up and we'll go to the next stage. Now at this stage, you must not touch the sides with your fingers. If you can, support it somehow so you can tape the edges up, or all I do is bring it over the edge of the bench and align tape just down from the top. You want about 0.5 mm from the top edge, and this allows the brush machine to come up and brush the top surface. So there you have it, that's all taped up. Now we can handle it and do what the hell we like with it, really. Next stage is to brush finish the top, and it's the same procedure: sandpaper first and then Scotch-Brite. Now you can do this by hand if you want. I would suggest filling this area with a circular panel that's level with the metal. That's important because you don't want to be rounding off all these cast edges, which is quite easy to do. You need that all flat so you can get a good flat run over it. But in all honesty, I've tried that. I can do it, but it's not perfect. And you're just better off putting the effort in and building a machine that can do it, and it's quite easy. Now, to get this going, like I say, you can fill this area if you want, but I've done so many of these, I don't really need to do that. But if you can imagine, that area has been filled, and so I can get a head start getting the orbital sander marks out and get the brush finish started. So we'll start that. As you can see there, I've done that corner, but it slopes off on this edge, and on this edge it slopes in. So keep that in mind. Now this casting is particularly bad. You can see all the low spots in it from the high spots where I've brush finished it. There's quite a lot of imperfections in this one, as you can see. Now we'll lever this off as much as we can. The machine that I've made will help with that a little bit better than my hand, but inevitably some parts of this you're going to have to do it literally with the pad on the hand to get a feel for it, and to get in those deep crevices where hopefully when you brush finish it on the machine and you've Scotch-Brighted it, the Scotch-Brite will go into those crevices and sort of blend it into the level brush finish. It's quite hard to explain in detail. It's just one of those things you get a feel for, and it's really hard to explain, but it's definitely a skill that tests your patience. Now here on this leading edge, like I say, it slopes off. So what I do is, when I'm doing the hand sand, I let the pad slip off the edge like that, so it just gets it. And when you come to rebrush it on the machine, because the machine's got a soft sanding pad, it can get into those crevices and just blend it into one. So we've brushed the main part of the orbital marks out, and it looks pretty good at the minute, but now we've got these lower edgy bits that we need to do by hand, so we'll get on with that now. What I like to do is, that's why I like these pads so much, because you can just stick it to your hand and it enables you to feel all the little ridges inside where the stuff lays. So what we'll do first is, you can see that there, you can see the rough bits either side of this groove. We'll get those out. As you can see already, just about disappeared. Now around the on-off switch. Better. And now around the platter ring. Some of you might think that looks pretty good. Looks good enough to lacquer now. It's actually far from it. There's a difference between this bush finish and the final bush finish, which is what we're going to aim for. We aim for a finish that is as good as the new Technics SP10 are. So without further ado, we will get the bush machine out. Okay, so this is my sliding bed machine that I made about 15 years ago. Basically, you've got a guillotine here that moves up and down via some wing nuts, and you can attach a piece of sandpaper there. I use the sanding disc that I've told you about, and I just stick a few of those on there. After I'm satisfied excuse me, with the brush finish, then I remove the sanding disc, and there you can see there is some Scotch-Brite there. So yeah, basically this is a sliding bed, and it slides on rails there. It's got some wheels here and there. It's quite a basic thing really, and that's it. So we mount the piece on here, adjust the height to what we want to achieve, and then gradually we work our way down just millimeters until there's enough pressure on the piece for the sandpaper to bite in and give it a new brush finish. So we'll get on with putting the new piece on, and I'll show you the first stages. Okay, so basically we align the piece and we put some blocks of wood up to the piece where it's going to be level. On that side, on that side. No need to put them side by side because it's not going to move really once it's tight. That's rigid there now. It's important to get this level because you know you just want a nice level brush finish. Okay, we've got the sandpaper on, albeit a bit archaic, but it works. So, so now we'll start the first brush finish. And now we turn around and do it from the other side. Now we're back to this side and we've dropped it another millimetre. Now, as you can see, the brush finish has gone quite well. It's nice and straight all over. But the problem is you can see the little imperfections, the little marks from the bubbles in the casting. There's quite a few of them, and these are not damage from people dropping things or tapping things on there. That is actually in the casting. So most of them will be covered up with the lacquer, but this is one of the things when you start with a restoring a SP10 Mark II, a lot of things are hidden under the lacquer that you never knew were there. So yeah, half of these wasn't even visible before we started, and now they're fully visible. So we've got one more stage now, which is the Scotch-Brite, so we'll get back to it. So we've got the Scotch-Brite on the machine already. That's simply to get these prominent lines out and to smooth the whole brush finish off. So let's start. And again, we change around to do from this side. So, as you can see, there's our brush finish before lacquering. Nice and even, no blemishes. And this is the way Q-Stand Audio has done this for 15 years now. And I don't know how many we've done, probably about 600, something like that. And yeah, it's worth doing because the SP10 is a really great turntable, and it's worth every bit of money to spend on it compared to a new one for sure. So what we'll do next is we will lacquer the chassis in 2K lacquer. Anything less will not do. I mean, it might look good from the start, but trust me, it will start to flake off in a couple of years' time. So we use a good high quality 2K lacquer, which anybody can get. Again, this video is for those that want to have a go at home and try it with basic tools, and everybody is able to buy 2K lacquer in a rattle can form, and this is what we're going to attempt with this one. So if I can do it, so can you. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the lacquering.